Quick story, I quit my church gig, as y'all call it, my church job, just playing in church. I actually stopped playing in church as a church musician like 3 years ago, almost to the date now, pretty much. 2020, beginning of the pandemic, I stopped playing in church. That was a very hard decision because I had been doing it. I've been playing in church since I was like 19 years old. So we're talking about easily close to 30 years of my life put into being a church musician. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't an easy decision to do because we spend so much of our lives trying to, you know, do the church thing, do the church musician thing, be in that world. And most of us know what that world is like and how it's kind of built. But like, I stopped 2020 right before the pandemic. Here's the dope thing. Right before the pandemic, I actually stopped playing in church. It was something I heard God tell me to do. Number one, had no clue, no clue COVID was about to happen. So I quit before all of this stuff happened. Number one. But I kind of got grieved with personally the way things kind of flowed in the church world. You know what I'm saying? That was a number one reason, not number one reason, but one of the main reasons that I walked away. The secondary reason that I walked away was that I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. I saw no upside to this. We all know this as church musicians, as people that do that. Think about the upside of what it looks like on the other side of being a church musician. Okay, you put in 20, you put in 30 years, you put in 40 years, you put 50 years into being a church musician. If that's your full-time stick, what is the upside of that on the end of it? Now, I'm definitely not coming on here to like bash being a church musician. Again, I dedicated 30 years of my life almost to being a church musician. I still have products and services that actively serve the church musician community. So this is definitely not a vibe or a bag to like throw at that. But what I want to do is I want to put something on you guys' mind. And I thought, given the climate that we're in, this is a good conversation to kind of talk about and have. Because I want you guys to start thinking and expanding your mind on what this means. There's nothing wrong with being a church musician. There's nothing wrong with being paid to play. There's nothing wrong with having that as your side hustle, your side gig, whatever the case may be. There's actually nothing wrong with calling church, playing for church, being a gig. There's actually nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? Some people, that's their gig. That's how they provide. I played for church for years and used it as a means to provide for my family. But what I had to realize and what I had to understand is the upside. This is what changed my whole perspective on church musicians and being in that world and doing that thing and putting all my chips, stacking all my chips on that. Was I began to examine what the upside of this look. How do you retire as a church musician? What do you do about health insurance as a church musician, life insurance as a church musician? What do you do about providing for your college education for your children? You know what I mean? Like, how does that bump that I'm playing, how does learning all of these songs, how does that attribute past me being able to provide for my family, being able to leave something for the next generation? How does that turn up? And when I started examining that piece of my life, I instantly realized that there's not much upside to this as my full gig. Now, there are some people that do work for awesome churches, awesome ministries. They get benefits, they get life insurance, health insurance, all of those things like that, great salary, all of those things. That's the outlier. Let's keep that a buck. Those type of positions are outlier positions. That's not the bulk of what most church musicians are. So I'm gonna paint a picture for you. Like, pinnacle of me playing in church at that point in time, Let's take this number, $500 a Sunday. People just be like, oh, bro, like, I'm playing over here at such and such temple, so-and-so, Mount such and such. I'm not even putting names just because every city has a Mount Zion. Every city has a St. John or whatever. But people used to look at that, bruh, like, I'm over here, dog, man, such and such paying me $500 a Sunday to be the MD over here. And that's looked at as like a pinnacle, like, man, like, yo, you making $500? They cashing you $500 to play there? Let's talk about that. All right, let's average that out. That sounds like a whole lot of money. And to some people, that is a lot of money. 500 is not like nothing to sneeze at. But let's play this out to the logical conclusion. 500 times 4, that is $2,000 a month. That's 2 racks a month. Let's play that out and average that out to a whole year. That is roughly about, what is that, 24,000 a year, 25 racks a year. In most places in the United States, that's considered poverty. That's considered poverty in most places in the United States. If you make less than $30,000 a year, you are in poverty. So even if that church, for that church to honestly put you in a place where you are generating the type of income to where you can be able to build wealth, to where you can be able to adequately provide for yourself and your family, you have to be making upwards of $1,200 to $1,500 to $2,000 a week to adequately be able to build something. You know what I mean? We're not talking about just getting by, because we've been in that place of just getting by for so long. And so I'm trying to help people elevate their thinking. Again, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the church gig. There's nothing wrong with doing this. There's nothing wrong with getting paid to play. There's nothing big deal. But you don't need to depend on the church check as your sole piece of income. You don't need to depend on that. Now, I'm not saying that you don't need to have it. I'm just saying that's not that $500 a Sunday is $2,000 a month. A good, decent, like, depending on where you living at, what city you living in, a good, decent house or apartment, 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, if you're renting, is going to run you $1,200 to $1,500 a month. You know what I mean? So what are you doing for the additional piece of that? What are you putting back for that? I know how to play in all my keys. I know how to do this. I know how to do that. But bruh, do you have life insurance? Do you have health insurance? Are you putting back money for your family? Are you building those things? So when I started to consider the upside of how this thing plays out logically over the course of the next 20 years of my life, I started thinking about, like, how do I got 6 children, 6, 3 girls, 3 boys, 3 girls, 3 boys. That's 6 college educations. That's 6 kids coming into college that I got to pay for. That's 6 kids I have to take care of that I'm responsible for. All from one woman, 6 kids. How do I take care of that family? How do I adequately provide for my family at that space with $2,000 a month? So when I considered the upside of that, I figured out really quickly that there was something else different that I needed to do. And I'm going to look at some of these questions in a minute. But I figured out it was something different that I needed to do. I needed to move past, like, the status quo. I needed to move past that and do something different. So I started investing in myself. I started investing in my businesses. I started creating other business ventures. You know what I mean? Because the name of the game is this. It's, you've heard this, multiple sources of income. It's not just multiple sources of income. That's not how you win the game. It's, check this out and put you on real game here. How you win the game as a musician, as a producer, as a creative, is not just multiple sources of income, because any of us can create sources of income. I can start anything tomorrow and it becomes a source of income. I could say I'm a carpenter. I could buy me a couple of carpentry tools and open up a carpentry business, and that's a source of income. The source is what you do. But what fills up the source is the streams. You need streams. You have to think of your sources as a bucket, and you need streams to fill that bucket up. You know what I'm saying? So it's the name of the game isn't multiple sources of income, because you can have multiple sources and there's nothing flowing into those sources, and it's just a source. You need multiple streams flowing into multiple sources. So here's my philosophy. I've shared this philosophy before, and I'm going to share it with you guys again because I want to elevate your thinking beyond where you are. If you're a church musician, there's nothing wrong with that. If you play drums, you play bass, you play keys, you're an MD, you're a minister of music, you're a worship pastor, all fine, well, and dandy. But you need to figure out, how do you increase the value of the bottom line? How do you take this and increase it into that? You know what I'm saying? How do you build from this place? How do you grow from this place? How do you provide for your family? How do you leave a legacy? How do you not pass away and there's no there's no life insurance? We got to do a benefit concert shed. This is not a true story. This is not something recent. I want to make sure you guys I don't know anything about, there was somebody that recently passed. I have no idea about those details. So don't quote me on this and make me out that I'm talking about that situation. Y'all know what that situation is. I know nothing about that. I'm talking about this in a general standpoint. But because I've seen this particular thing happen with people in the past, like you pass away and we got to do a benefit shed to bury you because you didn't have life insurance, because you didn't have health insurance. Then you leave your parent, you leave your family, your wife and your children with nothing to fend for. You didn't make much income while you were here. You didn't bring in much money while you were on the earth. Then you passed and you left them to fend for themselves with nothing to think. So I had to think about that myself as a musician, what I was doing and what I was offering my family. Back to the point at hand, talking about multiple sources with multiple streams. Let me get back into that, digress back into this. Multiple streams of income. You got to figure out how to bring that into your place. I look at every situation that I get into now, every source of income that I create, I have to figure out how do I take this source of income and split it off into at least 3 streams of income. You see what I'm saying? At least 3 streams of income. How do I grow from here? How do I grow that source into 3 streams of income? That's what you have to figure out. Even as a church musician, how do you take that source of income as a musician? And how do you create at least 3 streams from that? Okay, I play in church and I generate $2,000 a month. I make $500 a Sunday. I make $350 Sunday. To make whatever that number is. That's a stream that's coming into that source of being a church musician. How do you take that and build from there? You gig on the weekends from something else. Okay, that's another stream that's coming in. Or you're in a corporate band, or you're in a cover band, and you do this. You got to figure out, no matter what you do, you got to figure out how to go from one source of income to multiple sources with multiple streams flowing into them. So I learned this in my days with COVID and all of, I didn't have COVID, but in the COVID era, like I learned this. I saw the power of this in action in those moments, in those times, because I took the time to craft out multiple sources and multiple streams. I ate during COVID. When I say I ate good during that COVID space. We're talking multiple 6 figures in that space that came in within spaces of months. How did I do that? Well, I stepped away from being a church, depending on the church check to be my main thing. And I started cultivating and building out my sources and creating streams into those sources. And I did it all online. I built online entities that pay me dividends and pay me passive sources of income and build all of those things. So I was able to walk away from a church gig, from a church check, and not depend on that church check. You know what I'm saying? And I don't say that from a pride standpoint at all, period. Like, I'm telling you how I did it. I'm literally here to help you understand, like, the logic of how to get out of this mindset that we have locked ourselves into. You know what I'm saying? Like, to break that shackle that's wrapped around your brain that there's only one way to do something. No, you need to be thinking way beyond. That's why I'm doing media for musicians. That's why I'm talking about content creation. That's why I interviewed Jan Hunter the other day. You can go check that interview on my page, 100,000 followers. This dude walked away from his church gig and he's doing content, making money as a full-time content creator, just doing video, just doing stuff like this. Like, You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why I'm on this tip now of trying to push through and teach people how to grow their income and create multiple streams and multiple sources using the content. Yeah, you can go live. You can get attention. You can get 150 people on a live. You can get 200 people on a live video or whatever. You're good at getting attention. How are you monetizing that attention? How are you building that? What are you doing with these pieces of content that you have? How are you using that to structure out what you're doing? You know what I'm saying? So that's my spiel on it. Like, you have to think bigger, you know what I'm saying, than where you are. Because when you think about the traditional space that church musicians live in, the traditional pay scale that we're offered, there's no upside to that. You know what I'm saying? There really isn't. And some of us are lucky to get into church situations that give us health insurance and benefits and all those things. But your average run-of-the-mill cat, that's not your thing. So if you're that young guy, 20 years old, 22 years old, 18, 19, you're just getting into the game and you're looking at this like, oh man, 500 a Sunday, 750 a Sunday or whatever. That's not a lot of money, bro. Like, that's really not. If you fast forward and change the dynamic a little bit, you're not gonna do much with that. I'm excited to reveal something game-changing for us and for you as producers and musicians. I want to introduce to you Peculiar Sounds version 2. We've introduced standalone mode, allowing you to use it independently from any DAW. You can now blend up to 2 sounds to create rich and complex textures. We added in 2 brand new effects, the Lo-Fizer and the Mod Filter. The Lo-Fizer gives you instant lo-fi vibes with just a button, while the Mod Filter adds dynamic movement and flow to any sound you apply to. And we also added the innovative new MIDI browser that provides you with hundreds of chord progressions, melodies, and drum loop MIDI files that you can drag straight into your DAW. And as a bonus, V2 now includes Sounds Off the Block expansion for totally free, bringing the total to over 400 patches. So as you can see, Peculiar Sounds V2 is not just an update, it's a revolutionary new plugin. So make sure you check the website right now and you can get your hands on this game-changing plugin. Y'all, want to thank you for making it to the end of this video. I hope you found it relevant and helpful to your workflow and you got something out of it. If you did, please drop a like down below. If you didn't, I appreciate you for watching anyway. All right, but I'll talk to you guys on the next one. I'm out. Holla at your boy.